Welcome to the Chrysalis Room, where we heal, become, and thrive. Okay, happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. All right, so today's episode is titled Wholeness in Finances, Healing Your Relationship with Money. All right, so money is one of the loudest mirrors we have, guys. It tells the truth about what we believe we deserve, how we define our safety, and whether we trust ourselves to steward what we have. Our conversation today is going to be about our relationship with money. Okay, the last episode I talked a little bit about, it was about generational patterns that are passed down, and generational patterns being a family's response to certain things, and money is one of them. Okay, so we might hit on certain responses that you have to money might not necessarily be yours. They may just be what your family has passed down. And that's the good news, because you can change it. You don't have to agree with it. You can change it. All right. And it's also nice because this episode is going to be a little bit lighter. I feel like episode 4 and episode 5 were a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. But episode 4 was just beautiful on the inner child for me. And I hope that could be a shared experience with others as well, because I want everyone that knows the pains that I talk about, the pains and the suffering, to have those moments of peaceful release, of resolve. Yes. Okay. So, today's episode is going to be lighter work, I guess I could say. So, we're going to talk about why money has emotional ties and how we can heal our money stories. And then there's going to be some reflection and practice. So, see, it's not too many different topics, but a lot of work, but it's still valuable and effective. Okay. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about, like, the concept of money scripts. So, there's an individual, I may butcher his name, but his name is Brad Klontz, and he identified 4 money scripts that we develop in childhood from our childhood experiences. Okay, so again, you see, if you've watched, all the episodes, but definitely episode 4 and definitely episode 5, talk about childhood, especially episode 4. Okay, and again, childhood is coming up again. So guys, if you are a parent, I don't want you just thinking about your childhood, okay? I also need you to be aware of the childhood you are creating for your children. Be very self-aware. Be very, very self-conscious of it, please. 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 Okay. Enough of my theatrics, okay? I'm gonna be dramatic anyway because I earned it. I earned being dramatic. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about these 4 scripts, money scripts that he identified that we developed in our childhood. All right. So, money avoidance, right? That's the script. And here's the belief behind money avoidance. Money is bad or corrupt. So, what behavior is associated with that? Guilt spending or self-sabotage, right? How many of you think having money is bad? And listen, I also want you to understand, nobody had to teach you this. Nobody had to teach you this. They showed you this. If you were like me and you grew up around poverty, you have learned having money is bad. Because for whatever the reason is, as much as these people claim to have wanted money, it was gone every time they got it. It was gone. It was gone every time they got it. And the thing was, like with this, right, money is bad. Money is not seen as something that fixes things. It's literally as quick as it comes, as quick as it goes. That is money avoidance. When these people are in poverty, choosing to continue to be there, right? That is self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. Look. Real simple, right? If you are a welfare recipient, you have to be experiencing poverty to obtain it and to maintain it. Okay? As soon as you get a job or any type of income that is above their limit, those benefits are gone. Okay? So being a welfare recipient also reinforces the belief that having money is bad, because you are conditioned to believing that welfare is a benefit, right? Because it is also labeled as a benefit. Benefits are supposed to be something that's good for you, right? So, and when you're there, right, you can get child care help, your food, some of your bills paid for. It's easier to get Section 8, your rent paid, and other things, right? So, in connection to receiving those benefits, you're also in agreement with money is bad, right? And we see this pattern, right? We've seen it on TikTok this year. How many 2025, how many mothers were on there talking about how many children that they have so they could keep those benefits versus going out and getting a job and actually having money? Because for them, money is bad because they don't get those benefits. They don't get that ease that, that allows them to stay home because everything is kind of taken care of, oftentimes without a man. So in their situations, money is bad. Okay? Especially if you're a single mom, right? And if you have 8 kids as a single mom, and one minimum wage job it's not going to pay your bills and feed your children. So therefore, money has to be bad, and I have to avoid money so I can keep this. This is a big systematic issue that has been reinforced for generations. Like, I didn't know until 2025 that Section 8 could be passed down to a child. I think I did as a child, like from my grandma to my mom. But I didn't know I'm a child. I didn't understand. But to know that for years and decades, right, that money is bad because you can't do all that when you have money, because you don't have Section 8 is cut off when you reach a certain amount. And anything else, there's a certain amount you cannot have. Okay? And it could lead to guilt spending, right? If you think money is bad, which is a different situation. So before I get into that, I'm gonna talk about the self-sabotage, because coming back to that individual who has 8 children, you are self-sabotaging. You don't think so, but as we saw with 2025 and certain time limits being put on these benefits and restrictions and things changing, now you're in a very destructive situation because you've been saying money is bad. believing money is bad. Not only that, but now you have children that you couldn't feed anyway, but now you really can't feed. And everybody else has been feeding them. Or the taxpayers or whatever, you know. And you're in a tough position, you know. And it's self-sabotage. Irresponsibility. Because, or let me scratch the irresponsibility part, because we're not talking about that. It's just the belief that money is bad can lead to different things, right? As soon as you get it, you gotta spend all of it, because having it is bad, you know. Because that's what you were taught to have, and it's corrupt. Like, you feel bad, like if your business makes 6 figures, and right, and you're proud of it to a degree, or you want to be proud, but the guilt that you learn as a child is eating at you, so you're quick to give it away. You're quick, whether it's a charity or like you're helping the family with all this stuff, you don't want to have all this money sitting in the bank, because you were taught people who have money, and having money is evil. It's wrong. It's bad. So you got to figure out what to do with it, and quickly. Okay? And the guilt spending, right? The guilt spending is when you would really think money is bad, right? Like, you've worked so hard, but because you have been conditioned to thinking like having money is corrupt and bad, that you enjoying your hard work, right, which tokens of your hard work, which is money, that it's bad. And it's because it's really that how people are going to view you. You're going to feel bad if now you can afford higher quality items or name brand stuff, and you want to get stuff like that because maybe you know you value things like that as a child, and now you're in a position to do so comfortably. You can take vacations, you can afford this stuff, but now you feel guilty because as a child you learned and were conditioned to believing that people who took these trips and these vacations and not only that, but like can buy other people's tickets were evil, rich people. So you don't. Or if you do, you can't really enjoy it because that belief is like tearing up your conscience. So let's go on to the next script that we can develop or fall into, which is money worship, which I don't really need to explain. There are some people, money is everything for them, and they will do any and everything to have it, okay? And the belief behind the money worship script is the idea that money fixes everything. And you know, for some people, you know, like we see it a lot in movies. Like they have the like the cliches of like the rich kids that just, right, they buy their grades. If they're in trouble, they have the money, you know, same with companies, right? They buy their way out of the lawsuit. They buy their way out of getting this broadcast in the news because money fixes everything. Everybody has a price, right? It's just, everybody has a number. Everybody has a number. And that's the belief, like money fixes everything. And typically, the common behavior, they may be overworking and they may be chasing validation. Like your dating life may be validated by money, the money worship, right? And then the women you find are the women that are, you know, the pick-me, the gold diggers, right? Because that validates your belief that money is everything. The kind of house, the kind of status, the perception that people have of you is money worship. You know, the kind of ventures, like you might just have a yacht and just throw all these parties with people you don't even know just because you worship money, and these people that may not have as much in whatsoever, right? They get the opportunity to, you know, come someplace and whatever, and yeah, and like you're the person, you're the guy, because money fixes everything. And then whatever happens, if illegal things happens of that nature, There's nothing your money can't fix, right? And they'll come to you and be like, yeah, this, that. I can tell your secret. And okay, how much for you to be quiet? I can buy silence. I can buy other things, right? There's a lot of things that people that worship money, when you think of things like cartels, look at what's going on in America. Look at the drug systems. What is that? That's the worship of money. Money fixes everything, right? So, in their minds, some wars, some things like that, what is it? It's money is, it'll stop if the price is right, and some of this, I know that went a little bit more, I don't know if it's a macro or micro, but it went a little bit larger than what I wanted. So let me bring it back down here on an individual level. So if you grow up and you are conditioned and taught that money fixes everything, you worship money and you believe, so you will work hard to have more money, right? Because money fixes everything. And that's all you know, and you're willing to work to have it. You're willing to do what you need to do to have it, even if it is a compromising occupation, your integrity, it can degrade your self-respect. But if the money's good, that fixes everything. Something you were taught, okay? All right, script number 3, money status. Right, and I kind of touched on it a little bit with money fixing everything. It can also be status. But more specifically, when you believe money equals status, you believe the amount of money you have is your identity, right? And this is where this comes in. I'm broke, I'm poor, I'm rich, I'm wealthy. If I'm poor is your identity, you are only going to focus on what makes and keeps you poor. All right? Because you don't really make space or room to acknowledge opportunities for you not to be financially poor. Because it contradicts that belief. When we believe something, we are always pursuing things to validate that belief. We have biases like that. That's just a natural bias and tendency that we have. So if you associate your identity to your wealth, which many people do, right? Like, the idea of keeping up with the Joneses, that's a status. Having a home, having everything name brand, whether you have it or not, but you want to present as you are somebody who has a level of money that you don't have, but you want to look it. Because you associate who you are and how people perceive you with the amount of money that they think you have or that you want to have. Okay, it's something you learn from a childhood. And your behavior is your image-based spending. All you care about really is how what you have makes you look, because you want to come off a certain kind of way. Name brand, you want to look rich, you want to look wealthy, because that to you, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. That's where the respect is. That's where, the value is just there when it comes to money. I'm going to look it. Whether I'm being honest or not, okay? I'm going to have the looks. All right. The 4th script is money vigilance, okay? And the idea, the belief under people who subscribe to money vigilance is, I always have to be prepared. These are our money hoarders, okay? These are our doomsday individuals when it comes to money. Why? They're saving up for a catastrophe. They always know something bad is going to happen. So they always gotta have it. They can't just spend, they always gotta have it. They're gonna do the bare minimum spending because something is gonna happen. Something is gonna happen. And the last thing they wanna do, we all know doomsday preppers, okay? It's same thing just with money. Same thing just with money. Like when everybody else and all this, I have my gold, I have my silver, I was prepared. But it's in a level and at a degree that is not healthy. So it's very controlling of the individual's life. So overall, what I want you to take away from these 4 money scripts, like first of all, which one, you might identify with one of these. I would say for me, well, at least I know, like, I kind of grew up with money avoidance, but becoming a parent and a adult, I definitely knew that I did not want to be on welfare, because that was just a pattern I didn't want to continue. And so I think that was like kind of the biggest things, like having and doing for yourself was kind of bad, because like having the money to do for yourself was bad. So I would say coming against that was something, because I mean, I didn't feel bad, like able to shop for myself. I felt good. And I think it's because it was trumped by like my bigger motivation to be a responsible adult and to really set my child up in a way that was completely contrary to how it was for me. So I didn't really subscribe to that too much. Yeah, but I did learn that growing up, but I did not subscribe to it. So typically most of these scripts, and I think another reason why is just because they was always so broke. Like there was really, I think like the idea of having money and like your own money was a little bit more foreign. Never really, like thought about it, because nobody really worked around me. Everything was benefits, disability, or if somebody got a job, it was just long enough to be able to, quit or something, get fired so they collect unemployment. Like the idea of like having money, and let me explore this a little bit more, because I think it could. I feel like I don't want to be in denial. I feel like the money avoidance was still very prominent, because when opportunities came for me to earn, substantial amounts of money, I was more reserved. And maybe this money avoidance thing that I learned as a child or saw is a big reason why I was more reserved when it came to those opportunities. Just it was exciting, like, oh yeah, I'll be able to pay my bills and my debt off. But then I also think like underlying that was like, you're going to have, and having that type of money, especially if you do the work, is bad. So I'm thinking maybe that is where the reservations come from, like when it comes to attributing a monetary value of success. I think honestly that's where some of the reservations come in, because that idea of having money is bad, that I was taught growing up. And I would say that also, was a form of self-sabotage, in a sense that, I would quit, even though like I didn't like cold turkey quit. I just wouldn't put forth the effort to do it, which is still quitting, is abandoning. Wow, look at that. Learn something new every day. Learn something new. Cool. All right, so just remember, right? We just went over these 4 scripts. Each script is a trauma adaptation. It doesn't mean these things are true. It's just we learned this as a child from what we've seen and what we were taught, right? They didn't necessarily tell us this. Sometimes they do, but they showed us these things about money and they passed it down to us. And so, and sometimes, right, like even when it's spoken, it's always, we can't afford that, we can't afford that, we can't. That helps develop a script. Like, or people with money are greedy, right? Money is bad. That's what kids start to believe. So, and if you believe that growing up, guess what? You're not really going to put yourself in a position where you can have money. Or when you do have money, you're more comfortable with not having much discretionary income. Like, you're more comfortable living paycheck to paycheck a little bit, even though you don't like it, but like having more is not making things bad, or you're not a greedy person because you don't have all this extra money laying around or whatever. But again, like these are, when you've been in survival mode, or if you've had these kind of backgrounds, like this is what's you're starting to believe as a child about money. And it's okay, it's normal, and we're going to deal with it. So next, we're going to get into some neurobiology about stress, okay? And what does that mean? Just how the brain and neurologically, so like the nerves and the connections in the brain and all of that stuff, what is happening in the brain when we are experiencing financial stress. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so especially in 2026, a lot of us, okay, in 2025, and even before that, since COVID, you know what I mean? We are experiencing financial insecurity, a lot of us, okay? And every time we're in a situation where we are experiencing financial insecurity, our amygdala is activated, and it treats it like a physical threat. So again, if you didn't watch, I think episode 1, I talked about our autonomic nervous system, our ANS, which is our alarm system. So the amygdala is, it's like the camera, it's like the alarm that goes, it's the alarm that goes off, right? Something tells, we got a smoke detector. We have our system that detects the smoke. Our amygdala is the actual detector that goes off. So when we experience financial insecurity, that could be from looking at a bill, or another bill comes in, or our check is low, that part of our brain, our alarm system says, hey, danger, 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 you're in danger, okay? So your body will release cortisol, okay? Because your body is gearing to respond to this threat. You're either going to enter fight mode or fight response, where you are going to confront the issue, or you are going to try to control the issue, or you typically are going to enter into a flight response, where you are going to want to escape and avoid the perceived danger, right? So what does that mean? You may make an impulsive decision, right? Or you just might feel the shame, all right? But either way, you're going to cycle through the shame and impulsivity. The shame and impulsivity. Because you're in flight mode, okay? And everything you do, every time you do the bill, that is what you're going to do, okay? And some of you, some people, even with seeing that, they will still go spend more money that they don't have to cope. They're going to go shopping, they're going to go get their lashes or something done because they're trying to calm down, but they are furthering the issue, right? And then they get more triggered when that bill comes in. We are just, look at what we do to ourselves, guys. Look at what we do. Ain't nobody, no, you did that. We do some stuff to ourselves. We want to be calm, we want to have peace, we want to be able to rest, and we be creating the chaos. We are the ones creating the chaos. When we want peace, but we woke up and we chose problems. We chose all the problems. I'm being silly, y'all. But yeah, so when you experience financial stress, right, your body will, or insecurity, right? You don't like something that you're experiencing financially, whether it's a bill, whatever the situation is, your body's going to enter fight or flight mode, and then your brain is going to translate this lack of money, right, this threat of lack of money into lack of safety, right? Because the idea is if you have more money to take care of all of this, you feel more safe, right? But you don't have that security, so therefore you're not safe. And not only are you not safe, but it's not safe, whatever it is, the whole situation, the environment, situation, right? And your body is going to treat it as a physical threat, okay? Just as if there's a bear heading towards you, that is how your body is treating your response to you seeing that check is not going to cover the bills that you anticipated it was going to cover. All right, and that's normal. Now, for the average person that has not been exposed to certain adverse childhood experiences, at least so many of them, and they have healthy attachments, they're not in survival mode, nor have they been living in survival mode, their responses are going to be very different emotionally. They're going to have a lot more calmness. But when you've been in survival mode and your nervous system is hyperactive because it doesn't really understand safety and peace and calmness anymore, it is always going to, I'm not going to say highlight, but it is always going to make the situation more explosive than what it needs to be. But your experience is very, very real. That threat you're sensing is very, very real. So I'm not discounting that. Trust me, I know, I understand. I live it. I lived it. And sometimes I live it. But through, like I teach in these episodes, through coping, through being intentional, through reframing my language and my thoughts and exploring my thoughts, exploring my feelings, and taking autonomy and agency over them, I rewrite the narrative, and that allows my brain to make new connections. And over time, the continuity of me doing that, there's less occurrences of me spazzing out when the money's not looking right, because I am in a regulated state enough to know, like, okay, I have to take a different approach to this because it's not going to go the way I thought it was. And I can handle it in a completely different way without all that emotional distress. So trust me, understand, been there, not judging you, live it, and every once in a while it still might happen to me. So how do you begin to navigate this a little bit better? You have to understand, when it comes to our financial beliefs and our money stories that we have, that have been told to us and that we told to ourselves, and ones that we subscribe to sometimes unknowingly, we have to understand that we have to separate our financial status from our personal safety, okay? And in doing that, you have to have a level of self-awareness. You first have to detach yourself from money equating to your personal identity. You are not the money you make. Okay? Money is something you experience. It's not you. When we begin to understand that and separate ourselves from this bill, from this check, from the financial situation, right? Our financial status and bills and all that are things we act upon, are things that, we can impact. It's not who we are. It's not what we do, okay? We can influence it. There's certain variables we contribute and whatsoever have you, but it's not who we are. And it does not determine who we are and who we will be. Okay? So we got to separate them. Those bills are not you. Obviously, it's a part of your responsibility, but it doesn't determine whether you're a failure or successor. It doesn't. You know, it just doesn't. It's not who you are. It doesn't equate to your status, right? And like, an example is like, for some people, right, they can associate a blank check. I'm sorry. We all want a blank check, but that's not what I meant. Like a balance. Like when you're trying to manage your finances and different things of that nature, and you're looking at these numbers and things don't balance, you start to associate that with being a reflection of who you are. And the thing is, it's not who you are. You have contributed to those numbers, to those results that you see, but it's not who you are. You are a person who had engaged in certain actions or made certain financial decisions that resulted here. Okay? Now, what you are learning is that those decisions may not have been the best decisions to engage in based off the information you have now. Does that mean you are a failure? No, it means you've done some things that you learn did not yield the best outcome. Okay? And see, but when we are in survival mode and different things of that nature, those are not the conclusions that we come to. We come down to, I failed, I'm terrible, I'm bad with money, I'm never gonna be like this, I'm never gonna have anything, I'm stressed out. That's where we go, and we stay there, which is not a place we want to stay. If you can recall a previous episode, I think it was episode 3, where and I'm going to continue to reiterate this because I love it, you cannot heal with the same thoughts that hurt you, right? I can't figure this out, I'm not good with money, I'm bad with money, I'm always going to be broke. That is not going to heal you. It's not going to move. Thinking like that does not move you to the direction you want to be. It does not move you to balancing that stuff out. It does not move you to building a savings. It does not move you to eliminating and decreasing your debt and liabilities. It doesn't. So why stay there? And I understand why your brain defaults to this, because I talked about the brain's negativity bias. I talked about that. It further validates to your brain that already believes, your brain and your body that already believes this money thing is dangerous, and all those negative thoughts are evoking negative emotions, which further communicates this is not safe, this is dangerous, because those negative emotions help dysregulate your body further, and they're validating the extra cortisol that's being released and things of that nature. So I do want you just to like understand that those things are that thinking and how we default to that is normal, and you with practice and time and separating yourself, right, understanding this is something you're experiencing and it's not who you are, you'll be able to adapt more quickly, rewire your brain to forming new connections with the thinking that you want to have, progressive thinking, healing thoughts, and they'll begin to happen more often. Okay, which brings me to healing your money story. So in order to begin healing your money story, guys, we have to identify the inherited narrative. Okay, same thing, you have to be aware. What is it? What is it? All right, and a good way to figure that out is to ask yourself, what was I taught about money growing up? All right, and here's some examples to kind of reference, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy, and we just don't talk about money, right? The first one, money doesn't grow on trees. That teaches scarcity. So scarcity is an idea, is there's never enough to go around, right? Everything is a pie, and there's not enough pie to go around. That is scarcity, which is like, if you can't get it now, you're never going to get it because somebody else is going to have it before you. And we often internalize that. And I heard that so much as a child. Money doesn't grow on trees. We don't have it. You think we have it? Like, money just don't be. As if, I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit petty, but as if, like, you just couldn't go get a job. Like, I don't like that. I don't like you telling your children money doesn't grow on trees because you refuse to be a responsible adult and get a job, or at least search for one, at least be proactive, like, because that is like a cop-out. Like, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, no, we all work, we reap what we sow. Like, you're refusing to work, but you want to just be the recipient of someone else's work all the time. Like, that's crazy. We that work here pay all these taxes. Like, some of us, we can't even enjoy the money that we've earned. And I'm not blaming that on other people because, we have made some decisions. Nobody told us to buy that car or do certain things to put us in a situation that got us all this debt to where, we can't really enjoy all of our monies and go on vacation and stuff like we want because we have other responsibilities. That's not other people's fault. But, it's not right to do that to children when you're just, I don't like that. Because there are so many things that some parents do because they just don't want to acknowledge their responsibility. I don't like the excuses. I don't like the little statements and nuances that they make because they just don't want to be honest with the child. And it's not being honest with the child. They don't want to hold themselves accountable for their actions. So they sow these things into children because it doesn't require them to be accountable. I gotta let that sit for a moment because that was a lot. All right. And then guilt. Rich people are greedy. I talked about this earlier, but it makes you feel guilty for having money. It makes you feel guilty for going to school or getting a degree or getting a trade or just working, getting a license in an industry and earning money, earning a living. Make you feel guilty for wanting to enjoy that, for buying you a nice house, for wanting to have nice things from your hard-earned money. Making you feel guilty for that. And it's like, because some things want to be overgeneralized. Are there some rich people that are greedy? Yeah, we can name a few. We can absolutely name a few. Like one person buying farmland. For what? For what? What do you need it for? But I digress. There are some, but that's not everybody. And the thing as well is some of these rich people, some of them are rich and obtain wealth by solving other people's problems. What is wrong with them having wealth or generated wealth for solving other people's problems? They have been serving people, some of their families, for generations. What is wrong with that? You're telling people they should not get paid for the services or products that they provide that solves people's problems. And and people don't really think about that, right? If you did something for me and I didn't want to pay you, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to keep doing stuff for me for free or for everybody. Because what does that do for you? Now you can't house your family. You can't, you probably can't even get you a car. But you keep doing all this stuff for people because you don't want to have money because it's greedy. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. Having more money allows you to serve more. It allows you to provide more opportunities. And as you grow your business, now you can create jobs. Now you can contribute to the economy and provide another means for other people to provide for their families. That doesn't make you greedy. Now, are some CEOs? Yeah, some of them are, but that's not everybody. It's not everybody. And we're taught and conditioned to overgeneralize, through movies and different things of that nature to further, like, punish the idea of having money is bad. Okay? And that's just not the case. It's not. It's not one person who really wouldn't enjoy having some money, some freedom of money to do things in the world that they typically wouldn't be able to do. You can't tell me one person who wouldn't enjoy it. To be able to take a trip, to be able to not have to work, you not be required to, so you can live, that all of that is supplied for financially. You can't tell me. I can't think of one person who wouldn't enjoy that. Bills not being a problem. Bills not even being a consideration because it's taken care of. Financially, and they can take a trip whenever they want. That's financial freedom, okay? And nobody's calling them, hey, you owe this, you need to pay this, or we're gonna have to, come and repossess this, or we're gonna have to foreclose this. We often don't think beyond the surface with certain things. Somebody tells us a belief system, and we don't think further than that. We just decide, oh, I'm agree with that because I like this person or this and that of that nature. Oh, do you know those people, these celebrities that you see and that you want to be like? Some of you want to wear the kind of shoes, the kind of lashes. You gotta have money to do those things. And especially if you are high maintenance and you like to keep up, you gotta have a good amount of money to keep up with those things, because they're luxury things, items, services. Okay, would you doing work to earn money, to do things like that for yourself, make you greedy? I don't think so. And I don't think you should let anyone else convince you of doing such things. You shouldn't feel guilty. I won't feel guilty, and I'm not going to allow other people to make me feel guilty when I'm in a position to help children who are like me, who came from families experiencing poverty, who got bullied for, having holey clothes or stinky shoes just because their family couldn't afford to get them new things, not have school supplies, couldn't afford backpacks, but to get in a place where, I have something I can contribute and I can supply to these families backpacks, school supplies, for these children, for their mental well-being. That doesn't make me greedy. And I'm not saying that I'm rich, but obviously the goal is to get to a place where I have more resources and access to more resources so I can do that more often. That wouldn't make me greedy. How is serving others and supplying for their needs a greedy thing? We have to think about things like that. Now, I'm not saying everybody's not greedy. There are greedy people out there, okay? I'm just saying. We shouldn't overgeneralize certain things. And if you work hard, if you put in the work, you lose sleep, right? And at some point, like if you're paying off your debt and you're working multiple jobs, for a season in your life, and finally all the debt's gone, and now you have freedom, that, and you got some money, no, you are not greedy you worked, you earned that. You are not greedy, and you are not bad for doing what you want to do with that. All right, and then, like the other, like, statement that some people inherited from certain families, like, we just don't talk about money, right? It's a private, secretive thing. And that's what it is, secrecy, right? And in marriages, how many marriages, the majority of marriages fail and end in divorce because of money problems. Secrecy. We just don't talk about money. We can't be doing that. I started teaching my children, especially my oldest, just how money works, right? Eventually, allowances. It should start in the home, because I didn't have that growing up, and just like the banks, paying rent. I had to find all that stuff out on my own. It's like, start having these conversations with the kids. Like, I'm in debt. Hey, mommy, I want this. Why can't I get that right now? Oh, because I have to take care of this first. But we can get it, just not right now. I'm gonna put a little bit of money to the side, and we're gonna save up to be able to get it. I just can't go buy it right now, but we'll get it. And explaining that to her, like, I have to work to earn money to be able to get certain things. It doesn't need to be a secret, right? The last thing I would want is like my husband having $100,000 credit card debt and never telling me about it. And then finally, something hits the fan, and then it comes. That wouldn't be good on my nervous system. It wouldn't be good for him. It wouldn't. But I'm just being dramatic with that, because for some people, if you listen to some of Dave Ramsey's calls that come in, some women or husbands in marriages and people, they are experiencing that. Their significant other is racking up all of this debt on the side they know nothing about, and when it finally comes, it's like, it's too much. It's too much. So we don't want to promote secrecy. We want to talk about money in a home. We want to start that soon. There shouldn't be secrecy. But yeah, identify that within yourself. Like, did your parents teach you scarcity? Did they teach you guilt about money? Or did they teach you to be secretive about money? And I'm not saying tell everybody about money. Like, yeah, there's certain things you shouldn't share with people. Like, everybody doesn't need to know your bank account. They don't need to. Some things are not people's business. But like, if you're married, there needs to be transparency there. Even with your children, right? They need to understand home economics, or just at a very basic level, like, money is earned. And if they want to get stuff, you don't want to buy it for them, give them the opportunity. Like, okay, for a week, or for this month, this is the chore you're going to be responsible for, and every time you do it, this is how much you earn. And so by the end of the month, or whenever, you should have earned enough money to be able to buy it for yourself. You can start the conversations like that when they go to the stores. This is how much this costs. This is how much we have to spend. Start involving them, right? And that's what I do with my children. I'm very open. We look at pricing. We talk. She's very aware, and things like that. And sometimes she has even asked me about my debt. Like, how are you doing? Like, did you pay that off yet? Because they can cheer you on. They can be your biggest cheerleaders if you give them the opportunity. And even, like, ooh, I paid off this credit card. Let's go out to eat. Things like that. It don't have to be that detailed. but you know, it doesn't need to be secretive either. All right, and then another way, right? So after identifying what these financial stories may be and beliefs that you have, you want to also identify emotional spending versus stewardship, okay, versus being intentionally managing your money. So you want to have, you want to understand, right? Emotional spending is temporary regulation, right? Maybe something, you're having a bad day and you want to feel good about yourself. So you go get your makeup done, you go get your lashes done, or you go get your nails done. That's emotional spending because you did it when your emotions were very rampant, very strong. And or you go shopping for some new stuff and later on you're like, when you see the bill or you see your credit card balance, you melt into your chair because, but then you might melt for a little while and then you might go spend some more to calm yourself down or get something to eat. So you need to be aware of what your emotional spending triggers are, okay, and why. And I'm gonna be transparent. Like, I noticed I had a pattern that occurred, I think, like every like 2 to 3 years. I will, something in my relationship with my husband will give me emotionally distressed, and I just felt like I wanted to feel good about myself. And I don't necessarily, I wouldn't say it was all like him, but it's just how I personally felt about myself. I didn't really like it. And so like I would go get a new hairstyle. I would go, if I let my piercings close, I would reopen them. I would get me some new makeup. Like I would just do this makeover, you know, like it was just an emotional trigger and it was an emotional response. And I mean, like I became more aware of that like this past year, because I did, like I was starting to feel it, and then I was like, you know, I don't have to act on that. I don't have to engage with what I'm experiencing right now. I can be more responsible. Like I don't have to do it on an emotional whim, but if I truly desire to, you know, get my hair colored or like go shopping, I can do it more responsibly. I can be more rational when I do that. So talking about rationality, intentional stewardship is a different way to look at it. It's just managing your money, your resources intentionally, right? You are regulated. Like one of the things too that they say, and is very true, if you're hungry, don't go grocery shopping. Don't go grocery shopping. Even if you got a list, let me tell you, the things that will still end up in your cart because you're hungry. Eat first. Eat first, okay? Everything's gonna look good. Everything's gonna look good, and then you're gonna find out it didn't taste good and you wasted how much money on it. Okay, like even for me, like getting the dried, you don't get sushi at the end of the night, okay? It's been sitting there all day and it's dried out. But I was hungry. And I had an unpleasant experience because I was hungry. And I knew better. I knew better. I was a little annoyed because like, why would you even, you already knew, why would you did it anyway. Anyways, so you want to do that, and some of the rules are too, like if you really think you want something and you feel a strong emotion, give it 2 to 3 days and see if the emotion is still there. Give it a week, see if you still want it the way you did. And if it's something you did, okay, what can you do to buy it responsibly? Like make sure everything else is taken care of, so later on it's not becoming an emotional burden to you. And oh yeah, so there's an actual method. It's called the HALT method, okay? Never spend your money when you're hungry, when you are angry, when you're lonely, or when you're tired. Because that's all emotional spending, okay? Emotional spending. And a lot of it kind of like trickles into itself. So you just don't want to do those things, and that's good because honestly, I know about the hunger part and more emotional, but I never really, I'm not thinking about more like, do I spend when I'm tired? Like, when I'm tired and not wanting to cook, I will. I will eat out because I'm tired, I don't feel like cooking. But do I do that often? I don't. But at the times when I do, it wasn't necessary. And then sometimes, like, I'm over the food. Yes. So, just a couple more things to talk about before we bring this to a close. I hope everything is being a little bit helpful so far, and it's getting your brain going. So, we also want to talk about when we are addressing our money stories, just reprogramming the behavioral spending, like the behaviors behind it, because yes, our emotions are going to influence it, but also our behaviors, like the actual spending. You know, what is motivating it, what is maintaining it, what is causing it. You know, some of it is the emotions, some of it is the beliefs, right? My How I look, right? I associate my identity with the money that I have, or what I want people to think I have. So you gotta have like mindful check-ins, and this is a big reason why you do want to budget. Budgeting is going to tell you where your spending is, and over time, right, you will start to see patterns in different categories, different areas. You know, you might find that during certain times of the month, you eat out a lot, and it's happening around the same time, right? Especially if you're a woman, that might be an indicator. Hey, you know, this is something you need to plan for, or something you could be more proactive about when your money's a little bit tight. And also understand that a budget, it's not a scarcity thing. A budget allows you to see what you can do with what you already have. You know, it opens ample opportunities. It allows you to see how you can do things. You just gotta be a little bit more educated and informed on how to do it. And I'll be doing more stuff on that. And if you want to see certain things, you know, go check out my website, and you'll see certain things on there that can help you with budgeting as well. And I think maybe in a later episode or somewhere on social media, I'm going to talk about, you know, money myths and limiting beliefs about money and different things of that nature, and also how to set up your budget, and the different components of it. You'll likely be able to find that on social media or in the blog, and for sure on the website somewhere. All right. So you do want to have mindful money check-ins. Again, budgeting is one of the best ways to do that. And when you can get in a position, you can automate certain things. Automate savings, right? See, again, this is about budgeting helps with all this. You gotta budget to know how much you can save, when you can save it, and what you're saving it for. Your budget helps you identify all of those things. And then also with your language, a lot of the times we think like what a budget is this I can't. It's not a I can't. A budget allows you to see when you can do something and how you can do it. When and how. The budget answers that question for you. Yes. Budgets are amazing, and they can be very life-saving, very life-changing for anybody who decides to utilize them. And I love it. I have to keep using a budget. And when I finally just like got real good and real clear on it, I was able to pay off a auto loan 3 years early, pay off my 4 maxed out credit cards like within a year, and build a savings that allowed me to stay home with, I was pregnant at the time, but it allowed me to stay home for 18 months before, and I could have stayed home longer, but I didn't want to use all the savings, and I just, got a part-time job. So it gives you options that you didn't think you had. So I definitely recommend budget. And if you have any questions about it and like wanted me to assist you with that, please reach out. Information on how to contact me in our YouTube description, YouTube channel, and all of that stuff as well. And I'm gonna see. I'm not there yet. I might have it on the screen somewhere. I'm not sure yet. I will figure that out later. But yeah, so awareness, emotions, and the behavior. We gotta see the patterns to change them. Okay, and budgeting is a big way. It's a big therapeutic way of getting all of this in order. I promise you, it's helped heal me a lot. Like, I just listed several ways it has been life-changing for me. And even like people that I learned about along my budgeting journey, like people are buying homes with cash because they utilize budgets. I mean, budgets can be the most freeing thing if we use it. Yeah. All right, guys. So understand financial resilience, right? Because resilience with anything in life is your ability to endure different seasons well. Okay, that is resilience, without breaking, without cracking, but staying on top. And the goal isn't wealth. It's about just navigating and stabilizing your current financial situation. Stabilizing it to where instead of feeling like you're drowning, you feel you're above the water. You're in a boat, right? And you're able to glide through. You're not sinking or anything. You're on top of it. There's a level of stability, right? Eventually you're going to reach your destination. And that is what financial resilience is about. And what I'm going to want you to work on is this. I want you to ask yourself, what emotion do you feel the most when you think about money? And don't overthink it. The first emotion that comes to your head, that's it. Don't dwell on the others. And where did you first learn to feel that way? So if every time you think about money is the first emotion is stress, where did it come from? Is it like the family not, seeing your mom, seeing your parents argue or fight or cry about money, stress? Where did it come from? It even could be movies. So, think about that. If it's a neutral one, or if it's a bad one, right? If it's a bad emotion, like a negative emotion or guilt, explore. Where did it first come from? And then what you're going to do, what I would love for you to do, is write 3 emotional triggers. Your top 3, right? Is it the bill in the mail, the email? What is it? List all 3 of them, right? Is it like a fluctuating check? Is that a trigger? What is it? Or what are they? Because I need you to identify at least 3 of them. And then I need you to name the feeling, right? Is it fear, shame, or pressure? And those are just examples. It doesn't have to be those 3, but what is maintaining that stress of those triggers? Is it the fear of not being able to pay your bills? Is it the fear of not being able to eat? Is it the fear of like, I might be on the streets? What is it? Or is it shame? Like, I can't afford the new things. I can't afford that. And I should be able to. Like, what is it? Identify it, write it down. And then find and brainstorm at least one way to soothe one of these feelings this week. Okay, and it's not monetary gain, right? It may be as simple as, I have not always made the best financial decisions, but I'm learning to make them now. That can be the one way you soothe a financial stress this week. I'm learning. Hey, I didn't know that before, but I'm learning now. and I will continue to learn, and I will get better. So I want you to work on that this past week, and feel free, any questions, any ways I can support you, comment down below, reach out to wherever I may have contact information on the screen, and also just, you can contact me. Yeah. Thank you for joining the Chrysalis Room, where we heal, become, and thrive. See you next time.